I'm Rachel, and my life used to feel like a quiet suburban dream, pieced together with love and late-night laughter in a home that was ours, flaws and all. But beneath the surface, cracks were forming, silent, unseen, until they shattered everything. My husband Ethan, with his grease-stained hands and mechanic's heart, started slipping away from me, his smiles fading into something forced, his world shrinking to the shadowy confines of our detached garage. I tried to hold us together, but loneliness has a way of clawing at your soul, pushing you toward choices you never thought you'd make. And then, one dusty afternoon, a stranger stepped into that garage, and a single moment of weakness ignited a firestorm I couldn't control. What happened next could destroy everything I've ever known. Will I lose it all before the truth comes to light? Picture this: a late afternoon sun dipping low, casting long shadows across a cracked driveway, and me, standing there with a broom in hand, staring at the detached garage like it's some kind of forbidden fortress. My name's Rachel, and at 22, I've already got 2 years of marriage under my belt with Ethan, who's 27 and has grease under his nails more often than not. He's a mechanic by trade, with a little side hustle breathing life into old cars that most folks would have sent to the junkyard. We've carved out a life together in this modest suburban spot just beyond the town's edge, a place where the houses aren't fancy, but they're ours. Our home's nothing to write home about. Peeling paint on the shutters, a lawn that's more weeds than grass. But it's the garage out back that's the real heart of Ethan's world. That's where he disappears to, hours on end, the clank of tools and the low hum of a radio his constant companions. I've always been the supportive type, you know. I'm there with a cold drink when the summer heat's unbearable, or I'm holding a flashlight steady while he wrestles with some stubborn engine part. But truth be told, I often feel like I'm just orbiting his universe, a sidekick in a story that's always been more about him than us. Don't get me wrong, I love Ethan. Or at least, I love the version of him I married. The guy who used to sneak up behind me in the kitchen, wrap his arms around my waist, and whisper things that'd make my cheeks burn. Those moments are rarer now, replaced by quick pecks on the cheek before he's out the door or buried in his work. Lately, though, there's been a shift. His tone's got an edge to it, sharp enough to cut through the quiet of our evenings. His smiles, when they come, feel forced, like he's ticking a box. I tell myself it's just stress, bills piling up, long hours at the shop. But there's a nagging little voice in my head that wonders if I'm missing something bigger. That garage, though, it's like a line I don't cross unless I'm invited. It's his domain, a dusty, oil-stained sanctuary where I'm more guest than partner. I can count on one hand the times I've been in there without him hovering nearby, watching what I touch. It's not that he's ever said I can't go in. It's just this unspoken rule between us. The place smells of motor oil and metal, with tools scattered across every surface and half-finished projects leaning against the walls. There's an old couch in the corner, sagging under the weight of spare parts, and a flickering bulb overhead that makes the whole space feel like it's holding secrets in its shadows. I've never felt entirely at ease there, like I'm intruding on something I'm not meant to understand. Ethan's been different these past few weeks, his demeanor shifting like the weather, unpredictable and unsettling. The morning broke with a heavy, overcast sky, the kind that smothers the world in gray and makes you feel like the sun's given up for the day. I stepped outside, the chill biting at my skin as I tugged on an old hoodie, the fabric worn thin at the elbows from too many washes. My sneakers crunched against the gravel path, each step a sharp reminder of how far the detached garage sat from the house, like it was a world apart. The air smelled faintly of rain, that damp, earthy promise hanging low, and I couldn't shake the feeling that the day was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. As I reached the garage, I slid the heavy door open with a groan of rusted metal, and the familiar scent hit me like a wave. Motor oil, sharp and bitter, mixed with the metallic tang of rust that seemed to cling to every surface. The concrete walls were damp, beads of moisture glistening in the dim light, and the space felt more like a cave than a workshop. Stacks of cardboard boxes loomed in the corners, overflowing with tools, car parts, and forgotten junk that hadn't seen daylight in years. The single bulb overhead flickered erratically, casting long, jittery shadows across the cluttered floor, making the whole place feel alive in a way that set my nerves on edge. It was Ethan's kingdom, no doubt. But standing there alone, I felt like an intruder in a space that didn't want me. I caught a glimpse of Ethan just before he left, his broad frame filling the doorway as he adjusted his jacket. His dark eyes flicked over me, and his voice came out clipped, almost impatient. "Just clear out the junk, Rachel. I'll handle the rest." There it was again, that off tone, like he was speaking through a wall I couldn't see. I opened my mouth to ask what was eating at him, but he was already turning away, muttering something about picking up camera equipment in town. I shrugged it off, chalking it up to another bad mood, and watched him disappear down the driveway before I turned back to the mess in front of me. Getting to work, I started hauling boxes, the cardboard rough against my palms as I dragged them across the gritty floor. My arms ached with the weight of heavy crates, the kind filled with old engine parts that felt like they could crush my fingers if I wasn't careful. Dust billowed up with every sweep of the broom, tickling my nose and settling into the creases of my clothes. I could feel the grit under my fingernails, a stubborn reminder of how out of place I felt here. Every now and then, a spider would skitter across the floor, its tiny legs a blur before it vanished into the shadows, and I'd flinch, my skin crawling at the thought of what else might be lurking in the corners. My mind wandered as I worked, drifting to mundane things, whether I'd make spaghetti or just heat up leftovers for dinner, how the latest utility bill was still sitting unpaid on the "I'm still in the garage," the air thick with dust and the lingering scent of oil, when I hear it, a slow, agonizing creak of the door sliding open behind me. My breath catches, and I spin around, the broom clutched tight in my hands like it's some kind of shield. There, framed in the dim light filtering through the opening, stands a man I've never seen before. He's tall, broad-shouldered, filling the space with a presence that feels too big for this cramped, cluttered cave. He's dressed in black jeans and a dark hoodie, the kind that swallows up any hint of who he might be, and a baseball cap casts a shadow over his face, hiding his eyes. He doesn't move at first, just stands there, silent, like a predator sizing up its surroundings. My heart slams against my ribs, a wild rhythm I can't control, and I take a step back, the concrete cold under my sneakers. I open my mouth to say something, anything, but the words stick in my throat. The silence stretches, heavy and suffocating, until finally, he speaks. His voice is deep, gravelly, like he's chewed on rocks for breakfast. "Ethan sent me, said you needed help." The statement lands like a stone in still water, rippling through me with confusion. Ethan sent him? Why didn't he tell me? I grip the broom tighter, my knuckles whitening, unsure if I should trust this stranger or bolt for the house. But there's something in his tone, a weight to it, that makes me hesitate. I nod slowly, forcing my voice to steady as I ask, "Who are you?" He tilts his head just enough for me to catch a glimpse of a hard jawline under the brim of his cap. "Name's Caleb," he says, but the way he clips the word feels practiced, like he's said it 1,000 times to people he doesn't care to know. He steps forward then, his movements deliberate, almost too smooth, like a cat stalking through tall grass. The garage feels smaller with every inch he closes, and I can't shake the feeling that I'm being cornered, even as he gestures toward a heavy box in the corner. "Need a hand with that?" I don't answer right away, my mind racing, but I nod again, more out of instinct than agreement. We move toward the crate together, and I'm hyper-aware of every sound. His boots scuffing against the floor, the faint rustle of his hoodie as he bends down. I'm reaching for another box nearby when I feel it, his hand on my shoulder. It's firm, lingering just a second too long, and a jolt shoots through me, sharp and electric. My first instinct is to pull away, to put space between us, but I don't. I freeze, caught in a storm of thoughts I can't untangle. Why am I not moving? Why does this touch, this stranger's touch, stir something in me that I haven't felt in so long? Not even with Ethan? My breath hitches as I turn my head slightly, catching the glint of something unreadable in the sliver of his face I can see. There's a pull, a dangerous current running between us, and I'm drowning in it. He steps closer, his intentions clear in the way his body angles toward mine. In the heat I can feel radiating off him. And I don't stop him. I should. I know I should. But I don't. What happens next is a blur of raw, chaotic need, a collision of desperation in the shadowed corner of the garage. It's hurried, almost frantic, the cold concrete biting into my back as the world narrows to the sound of our ragged breathing echoing off the walls. It's a release, a breaking of something I've kept locked away for too long, a hunger I didn't even know was starving until this moment. And the worst part? I don't regret it. Not in that instant. It feels necessary, like I've been holding my breath for years and finally let it out. But then, mid-storm, my eyes dart upward, catching something that stops my heart cold. A tiny red light, blinking steadily on one. The walk back to the house feels like a march to my own reckoning. My legs are shaky, barely holding me up as I stumble over the uneven gravel path, each step heavier than the last. My mind is a storm, churning with excuses, justifications, anything to make sense of what I've just done. I can still feel the ghost of Caleb's touch on my skin, a memory that sends a shiver down my spine, part thrill, part shame. It's a dangerous cocktail of emotions, and I'm drowning in it. I tell myself to bury it deep, to lock it away where no one can see. I'll act normal, I think. I have to. Ethan might not have seen anything yet. That tiny red light I spotted in the garage haunts me, but I push the thought aside, clinging to the fragile hope that it was nothing, just a trick of my guilty conscience. The house looms ahead, familiar yet foreign in this moment, like I'm seeing it through someone else's eyes. I push open the back door, the creak of the hinges sounding louder than it should in the oppressive quiet. My boots scuff against the linoleum as I make my way to the kitchen, my heart pounding so hard I'm sure it'll give me away before I even open my mouth. I head straight for the sink, turning on the faucet with trembling fingers. The cold water rushes over my hands, sharp and biting, but it does nothing to wash away the heat still lingering in my veins or the weight pressing down on my chest. I scrub harder, as if I can cleanse more than just the dust and grime from the garage, but it's useless. I catch a glimpse of the mirror above the sink and turn my head away, unable to face myself. I don't want to see the flush in my cheeks or the guilt in my eyes. I don't want to see who I've become in the span of a single reckless moment. The house is eerily silent, a stillness that feels like it's holding its breath, waiting for the inevitable. I glance out the window. Ethan's truck isn't in the driveway yet. A small relief, but it doesn't loosen the knot in my stomach. I need to keep busy, to distract myself from the chaos in my head, so I decide to start dinner. I pull out a cutting board and a knife, grabbing a handful of vegetables from the fridge. My hands are still unsteady as I begin chopping carrots, the blade wobbling with every slice. The rhythmic thud against the board should be grounding, but it's not. My thoughts keep spiraling back to the garage, to the way I let myself fall into something I knew was wrong. The knife slips once, nicking my finger, and I hiss at the sharp sting. A tiny bead of blood wells up, bright against my pale skin, and I stare at it for a moment, transfixed. It's such a small hurt, but it feels like a mirror to the deeper wound I've carved into my marriage. A cut that won't stop bleeding, no matter how much I try to ignore it. I wrap a paper towel around my finger, the sting a constant reminder as I force myself to keep going, to keep moving, as if normalcy can somehow stitch me back together. but every sound in the house feels amplified. The drip of the faucet, the hum of the fridge, the distant tick of the clock in the living room. It's all too loud, too real, and yet not enough to drown out the noise in my mind. I'm halfway through dicing an onion, my eyes watering from more than just the sting of it, when I hear the front door open. The sound is a punch to the gut, and my stomach drops like I've just stepped off a cliff. I freeze, the knife hovering midair, as heavy footsteps echo through the hall. Ethan steps into the kitchen, and the air shifts, growing thick with a tension I can't name but can feel in every inch of my body. His face is unreadable, a mask of stone that gives nothing away, and that scares me more than any anger could. He's carrying a duffel bag, but it's not his. Too new, too clean, not like anything he would usually own. I'm standing in the doorway of our house, the cool night air slapping against my face like a wake-up call I don't want. My heart's a jackhammer in my chest, each beat threatening to crack me open as I watch Ethan, my Ethan, out there on the street. He's got a red gas can in his hands, and he's pouring it over Caleb's car with a kind of deliberate fury that makes my stomach twist into knots. The sharp, acrid stench of gasoline cuts through the night, stinging my nose and making my eyes water. Or maybe that's just the panic clawing at me. I can't move. I want to scream, to run out there and grab his arm, to stop this madness before it goes any further, but I'm frozen. Fear's got me pinned in place. And guilt? Oh, that guilt. It's a lead weight in my gut, heavier than anything I've ever carried. What I did in that garage, the betrayal I let happen, it's all flashing through my mind like a nightmare I can't wake up from. And now this. Now Ethan knows, or at least he suspects. And this is his answer. A rage so raw it's terrifying. I see him pull a matchbook from his pocket. His movements slow, almost ritualistic, like he's savoring the moment. My breath catches, a ragged gasp I can't control, as he strikes the match. The tiny flame flickers for a heartbeat, fragile in the dark, before he tosses it onto the car. There's no hesitation, no second thought. The fire explodes to life, a roaring beast of orange and red that swallows the vehicle in an instant. The blaze lights up the street, casting jagged shadows across the houses, and the heat hits me even from here, a wall of warmth that feels like it's burning away the last shred of normalcy I had left. My eyes are locked on Ethan, standing there just beyond the inferno, unmoving. The flames reflect in his gaze, dancing in those dark eyes I used to lose myself in. But now there's nothing there I recognize, just a terrifying calm, a stillness that chills me more than any shout or curse ever could. He's not raging anymore. He's empty, hollowed out by whatever he's feeling, and I know I'm the one who did that to him. The crackle of the fire fills the air, a hungry, relentless sound that drowns out everything else for a moment. Then comes the sharp pop and shatter of the car windows, the glass giving way under the heat, exploding outward in a spray of glittering shards that catch the firelight like deadly confetti. I flinch at the noise, my hands gripping the doorframe so hard my knuckles ache. I catch a glimpse of myself in the house window beside me, and I don't even know who I'm looking at. Wide-eyed, pale as a ghost, my face twisted with something between horror and shame. I look like a stranger, someone complicit in a crime I can't undo. Neighbors are starting to spill out of their homes now, doors slamming, voices rising in panicked shouts as they fumble with their phones, dialing for help. I hear someone yell about calling 911, another cursing under their breath, but Ethan doesn't so much as twitch. He just stands there, watching the car burn, like it's a funeral pyre for everything we were. My chest is tight, like I can't get enough air, and my mind is a chaotic mess of what-ifs and should-haves. I should have stopped him sooner, should have confessed before it came to this, should have never let myself cross that line with Caleb in the first place. But I did, and now the consequences are literally burning in front of me. The fire's roar is a mirror to the turmoil inside me, wild and unstoppable, consuming everything in its path. I can still feel the ghost of that moment in the garage, the reckless heat of it, the way I let myself fall into something forbidden, something I knew would destroy us if it ever came to light. And now it has, hasn't it? That tiny red light I saw blinking in the shadows. It wasn't my imagination. Ethan must have installed a camera without telling me, capturing everything. The aftermath of that night feels like a fog I can't shake, a heavy, suffocating haze that clings to every thought, every breath. I'm sitting in the living room now, the house so quiet it's almost suffocating, the kind of silence that presses against your eardrums and makes you wish for any sound to break it. The police came and went hours ago, their questions sharp and relentless, each one slicing into me like a blade. They wanted to know what happened, why Ethan did what he did, if I saw it coming. I gave them half answers, my voice trembling as I tried to piece together a story that didn't lay all my sins bare. I told them I didn't know why he snapped, that I was just as shocked as they were, but their eyes, those hard, searching eyes, seemed to see right through me, like they could smell the guilt seeping from my pores. I don't think they believed me, not fully, but they left anyway, their notepads full of scribbles and their radios crackling with updates I couldn't hear. Outside, the neighborhood is still reeling. I can feel the weight of unseen stares, the neighbors peeking through their curtains, whispering to each other about the fire, about Ethan, about me. I've caught snippets of their hushed conversations when I stepped onto the porch for a breath of air, words like trouble and shame floating on the wind, stinging more than I'd like to admit. They saw the flames last night, saw the charred skeleton of Caleb's car being towed away at dawn, a twisted, blackened husk that looked like something out of a nightmare. It's gone now, hauled off to wherever evidence goes, but the spot where it burned is still there on the street, a dark stain on the asphalt, a scar that won't fade anytime soon. Every time I glance out the window, I see it, a grim reminder of the chaos I helped ignite. Ethan's gone too. I don't know where he went after the fire, after the police took him away for questioning. He hasn't called, hasn't texted, hasn't sent so much as a whisper my way. And honestly, I don't expect him to. Whatever was left of us, whatever fragile threads still held our marriage together, they burned up in that inferno last night. I can still see his face in my mind, the way the firelight danced in his eyes, the hollow emptiness that stared back at me. I did that to him. I broke something in him, something I don't know if I can ever fix, or if I even have the right to try. I've been sitting here for hours, alone in this empty house, my suitcase still by the door where I left it days ago, untouched, like a symbol of a plan I never followed through on. Maybe I thought I'd leave, start over somewhere new, but now I can't even muster the energy to unzip it, let alone pack up and go. My mind keeps circling back to everything that happened, replaying the events like a scratched record that won't stop skipping. I think about the garage, about that fleeting, reckless moment with Caleb, the way it felt like a wildfire in my veins, burning away every doubt, every fear, for just a few stolen minutes. I'm ashamed to admit it, even to myself. But I loved it. I loved the rush, the escape, the way it made me feel alive in a way I hadn't in so long. It was wrong, I know that, wrong in every sense of the word. But it was also a release, a breaking of chains I didn't even realize were binding me. And now, sitting here in the wreckage of my life, I can't help but wonder if that brief, forbidden thrill was worth the cost. I don't have an answer, not yet, maybe not ever. I've got a photo in my hands now, one of Ethan and me from our wedding day. We're smiling in it, so wide and genuine it almost hurts to look at. I'm in my white dress, the lace a little yellowed now from time, and he's got his arm around me, his grin bright enough to don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment if you enjoyed this story. This will help us create more engaging stories for you.